Hello, welcome ghouls, demons, and fellow weird ones, and here we are for episode 4 of Come Drink the Moon Juice. So, let's drink some moon juice. Eventually I'll have my moon juice tea, and then we'll have a whole toast and everything. I have big plans, big visions for my cheesy production of my weird world. Anyway, so this is episode 4, the second reflection of this whole podcasting thing, and figuring out what the hell it is that I'm doing. And I'm recording this, the timing, the sequencing, everything that I'm recording this, all the things that have happened, it feels out of sequence, out of order, but it's also perfectly in order. For those of you who have been keeping up in real time, and this isn't like a reflection months down the line or years down the line, I already kind of talked about Rosemary and the guest podcast side of things. So I had the ambush with Riley, and then I recorded my podcast with Rosemary, and then after I recorded my podcast with Rosemary, it's like I wanted to do these reflection things. I kind of wanted to break it up for a variety of reasons. That's just kind of who I am, and it gives that, I think, that balance and that dualism, and I'm just going with whatever the fuck I feel like and seeing where it leads me. But for me, overall, it just seems like a really good healing aspect. After doing it, kind of sitting with it even longer, I don't know why, but I have to externally express my feelings. It can be quite frustrating for me, but this is how I guess like I heal, grow, and learn in real time, and then sharing it with everyone. There's been this message that I've been avoiding for a very long time. It's that people are supposed to see you do it imperfectly. They're supposed to see you heal. They're supposed to see how implementing all of these things works. And so for people who've been around since the very beginning, I'm sure like this is like a huge evidentiary support of it working. All of the things I've talked about, all the spiritual principles, I think I am a pretty good example, especially depending on your judgments or opinions of me throughout this experience. But I feel like I'm more myself than I've ever been. The inner world and the outer world are almost fully merged, and I don't know if they ever fully merge, just like in it, like a yin yang symbol. There's still like a very fine line of differentiation. Even the poles at some point, they become distinctly split. So how does this all fit into everything that it is that I'm doing? Well, I'm sharing my inner world with the outer world and trying to not be afraid of it, I guess would be the main gist of it. Not being afraid of failing and healing and being that example. And part of that is just like in like the how would I say that? Well, the compliments that I've gotten, which I'm very excited. I'm very happy. I'm thrilled that people are noticing. It's interesting to me where it's different or where it feels different. Because for me, I feel like I'm finally being honest with the world about who I am. But to everyone else, it's this huge growth. And it's not to say it's not growth either way, but to everyone, it's just like they've never known me. So to them, it's a surprise. Like, who does she think she is? Who is this girl? Like, how did Sarah become this? Or why is she this? Or whatever. But I've never felt more myself. The way that I dress, like I'm dressing more myself. I'm finding ways to afford the things that I want in life, not allowing myself to be limited by money or whatever it was. But that was a big part of it. I never thought I could have certain things and be the way that I wanted until I had money. And it's like, well, no, like that's where thrifting or other connections, networking, there's so many different ways that you can get what you want in a genuine way that doesn't involve money. That's where like the money is an illusion and a status of everything. And that was something that really like came to conclusion. So now I'm finding ways to find things that are authentic to me. And then the more authenticity I pour into myself, the more authenticity is built around me, and the more people notice me for who I really am. Which ultimately has been what I wanted. There's that whole Aquarian stereotype of feeling misunderstood, and it goes into the following the script and being robotic and people pleasing and doing all the things that everyone tells you to do and constantly just redirecting you and refining you until you're fit into a fucking box and you can't breathe anymore. So I've escaped the box, multiple boxes, multiple prisons that I put myself in, society put me in, my family put me in. For whatever reason, I think we all kind of have these moments where we get boxed in a little bit, or we find a dead end, and how do you break through that dead end, or do you backtrack, or because sometimes no matter how much you backtrack, you still find that you hit the same dead end over and over again, and maybe the answer is to bulldoze through it, maybe it's to climb over it, you gotta go through it, either way. And so all of that is to kind of loop into that reflection. I really had to sit with, why am I doing it the way that I'm doing it? Can I do it? It's a huge fear, not just of being perceived, but losing control and not being able to control the narrative of how people perceive you. That's something I've really struggled with, especially over the years of putting myself online, which is kind of, I think, the big conclusion of what I've been trying to get at in 4 fucking episodes, 5-something hours of yapping later. I've just been trying to figure out, and then my mind goes blank because I get nervous. I guess that's it. How to overcome that fear. How do I overcome this, and how do I keep doing everything that I'm doing, and what is the disconnect? Because, like, I'm alone in my apartment. Well, I'm with my dogs, but I'm in my apartment. I'm talking to a camera. I do this, like, fluently by myself. I do this fluently with friends, but what is this disconnection? It's like, well, I can't control the narrative of how I'm being perceived. There's a huge fear around that. Because as I put myself online, you get that misunderstood, and then it just re-triggers a wound of, like, well, no one's ever going to understand me. And so why make them understand me? And then you get lost in communication through that route, through all of these different, it's a pendulum swing, it's a seesaw, it's tit for tat. It's just a game of tennis. And okay, so slow down. I'm trying to learn to slow down. My brain goes 50 fucking million miles an hour, and so I'm jumping to all of these conclusions, and I'm trying to get my mouth to catch up. I'm already feel like I'm talking really fast. So I couldn't control the narrative of how people perceived me. And I was learning this and really kind of trying to figure out that through my whole Pisces return. But this last weekend at the flea market, I realized where I was seeing that tennis ball game. So something that is happening at the flea market is there isn't a lot of foot traffic, so a lot of vendors will leave. Well, then when people do show up, there's not vendors, so then they're mad. So it's going back and forth, and the vendors are blaming this, and everyone's blaming someone, and then it keeps going back and forth. So for me, being on the internet, I would put myself out there and, like, explain myself in my kind of eccentric, quirky way of doing things with all my billions of references that I know people don't understand, but I'm hoping they'll pick up on, or we'll be on the same wavelength or whatever. And then maybe they misunderstand me. So then I over explain, and then it just keeps festering that, like, of being misunderstood, which is what Rosemary had talked about, and not over explaining. And I was really trying to figure that out. And I've been sitting in this space of insecurity, the space of chaos. And where did even more of this self-loathing, which I talked about in my other reflection, where did this self-loathing come from? And how do I face it? Like, you just got to do it, and you got to do it imperfectly, and you have to be aware of where it's your fault. So back to, like, the flea market example, if I am a vendor, which I am, and if I leave early, I can't be upset when people complain and then no one shows up because of word of mouth. Is like, oh, there's not that many vendors, most of it's closed down, and I paid $10 for parking just for nobody to be there. So what can I control? Well, I can stay and hope for the best, essentially. So I start focusing on what I could control and releasing what I can't control. I can't control people showing up to the flea market. I can't control people being open-minded or open-hearted enough to understand me. And that's hard to be online. And that's kind of like it. That is the biggest fear. That is the biggest thing. And I keep perseverating on it because I think it's become a really big deal. The more the internet grows, the more that people are putting themselves out there. It's a shift in human evolution, us tolerating this. And we're seeing and we're showing how maybe we're not quite built for it. And we do need boundaries around it. And how do we have Because I feel like it's easy to disconnect your humanity online. And so, how do we have humanity in these spaces for flawed human beings who are going to stumble over their words, who are going to put their foot in their mouth, who aren't going to be perfect in their communication? Because one thing I said a lot over the years defending myself on social media is if you met me in person, you would love me. And everyone thought that I was really arrogant saying that. And it's more true than not. I'm not saying people don't like me in person. I have had plenty of people not like me in multiple contexts. But generally speaking, I do feel like a lot of the spiritual community or a lot of the people who ridiculed me online, I do think that they would like me or have a better understanding or be a little bit more indifferent or neutral about their opinion of me if they knew me, felt me, saw, and all the above in person. But then it's like, well, where's my accountability? What could I do better online? People could get to know me better. I could put myself out there where they do understand my personality, and so they understand my references or metaphors or where I'm coming from. But at the same time, that's like it's not mine to worry about, and it becomes a lot. And I feel like, especially because it's the theme of Pisces, Saturn, all of the above for me specifically, the kind of overwhelming infinite nature that is Pisces. How do, again, how the fuck do you navigate all of this? Well, it led to me having 2 readings done. I don't really get readings done on myself from other people too much. I tend to try to do my own the best that I can, but I do believe everyone needs an external reading every now and then. So I got one done from my babe, Madame Rue. I did see an update to her name online. I don't want to out it just yet because I'm not too sure what she's doing. I need confirmation first. But she's given me phenomenal in-depth readings that have just, it's everything that it needs to be. She's thorough. She's not full of shit because she knows me. She knows that I am a quite skeptical person, and so she does everything she can to ease my skepticism. She wants to make sure that I know that she's genuine. She really comes from a soft, healing place, which is really nice because she respects and understands my hesitancy, my traumas, my everything, and that is most certainly one of the top qualities of something you want in a reader. On top of a friend, she's like a really lovely person. And so part 1 of her reading done, and through that, and it really expanded quite a few things, which then led me into the Mabon Fall Equinox Market, where I got my 2nd reading. Well, this was huge for me because, like I said, I don't do this, and I got 2 back to back. Not because Madame Rue didn't do a thorough enough job, it's just when I was at this market and I'm watching this lady do bone readings, I was really curious about it, and I was wondering why I was feeling so called to it. Well, I don't know, there was just a missing puzzle piece that was going to be in that reading, and it was going to, I guess, tie some loose ends in, excuse me, excuse me. Ugh. Okay, I think I'm okay. That was fucking weird. I was choking on kind of, I don't know what. So we're gonna tie up some loose ends in the reading. And so I got a reading done from the Bone Witch. And so nothing I say here is to talk. She was a phenomenal reader. I'm gonna talk about my feelings about it because that reading took me on a ride of my life. And so it was a really interesting reading. I never had a bone reading done before, and so it was really interesting and unique to me. And she called me a cactus in the reading, and that's where, like, I might be talking my shit, because I could not believe that she called me a cactus. And I was like, why would I be a cactus? Like, I just didn't think it was really flattering for a variety of reasons. And, but here's the thing. She knew exactly what she needed to say to, I guess, trigger me into sitting in a certain headspace to take me where I needed to go. It was really, really cool to think about, because I was like, I was sitting there listening to the reading, and I'm kind of getting in my ego and my feels about it, and I'm sitting there and listening, and I'm like, and she's just telling me to slow down. My brain's going to 50 miles an hour, and I'm like already way over here. And she just started the reading. We've been like 2 minutes into the whole thing, and instantly I just like jumped eons ahead, and she took me right out of it and was like, slow down. Oh my God. And I was like, bullshit. Okay, like she really stopped me in my tracks. And then it came out with, you kind of have a cactus personality, and how that all is on topic to what we're talking about. Is it goes to my communication style and what was I doing wrong, quote unquote doing wrong online. Well, you're not really doing anything wrong. You're a cactus. You have a cactus kind of personality, and that really upset me because I didn't want to be a cactus. I fixated on it. I did not want to be a fucking cactus. And then, she was telling me, she goes, well, just think about like a dog and a skunk, okay? A dog lifts its tail up. It's inviting you to smell. It's behind. A skunk lifts its tail up. It's going to spray you in the fucking face. So it's a miscommunication thing. So think about if it's a dog or skunk, dog skunk, what's going to happen? And because of that metaphor, it helped me understand the cactus metaphor a lot more, but it took days of sitting with it. And basically the whole gist of it all is to work on the communication. However, I was like, okay, so I need to work on my communication. How much more work on my communication do I need? Because I was so focused on the part of the communication or throat chakra work of just using your voice, which is a big part of like Mercury retrograde in Leo. When I started the YouTube channel, when I started my storytelling, when I kind of re-debuted in this sense of just start talking. And then I remember why I had been here before. So it's like, well, just start talking. Well, I did that multiple times on multiple platforms. Just start talking. Just start putting it out there. And it was always very scary. It was always very scary in the sense that I just, I feel like I spell it out pretty easily. I feel like I spoon feed people a lot. And so if I break it down to as digestible as possible. I try so hard to be, not just myself, but when I'm teaching, I try to make things as digestible as possible. So then I get really frustrated when people don't get it. And there was a lot that came from there. One, I don't have to spoon feed people. I don't have to parent people. And that was another part of the reading. Just be direct. I'm so used to being misunderstood. I'm so used to people not understanding or not knowing that I've gotten into a habit and a pattern of the assumption that you're not going to. So I instantly go into over explaining, and there is a part of that is intuitive, and I'm like, okay, or like they tell, or like they're showing nonverbal signs, whatever it is. Like there's this whole spectrum of analyzing the situation where I'm like, well, they're not gonna understand. So then that's the brain starts channel clicking. And that's obviously shown in a lot of my videos because, like Riley said, I know a lot of things about a lot of things. I know a lot about where to begin. And that's where it's a huge knot, it's a huge entanglement, it's a big web. My web of weird, it's the roots of the big tree. Like it's a lot. So where do I begin? Well, begin with just being direct. Cause I like to come from a place of wherever I like to assume that everyone is my equal, generally speaking, and I don't care how you want to apply that. Spiritually speaking, I don't like hierarchy. I don't like ranks. I think that we are all our own special snowflakes. We are all powerful in our own right. We all have a purpose that keeps the world going around, and I don't think any purpose is better than anyone else. Like I've always said, the purpose of the king and the queen is just as important as the paupers and peasants, so to speak, the farmers. And it doesn't matter what you are, your role is important, and it's you being a emperor, empress in your own right, in your own role, within your own destiny, and like what that represents, your own power. Like if you're a farmer, you obviously have like a huge magical draw to like the earth elements and fertility and abundance and all of those things, and that's significant. So I don't like this hierarchy of situations. So I'm going to approach people always like they're an equal. Even if I'm perceived to be this like goddess, empress, queen energy, I don't want people to be intimidated by me, but at the same time, know who the fuck you're talking to. Because I think that's where I get like upset or it gets misconstrued with people is I don't think that they expect or anticipate that I'm going to approach them like an equal. And so then it gets weird because it's like, oh, well, if she's treating us like an equal, then maybe she's not as great as she thinks she is. Maybe I'm better. And then they do something fucking shitty, and then I ultimately have to defend myself. And so I'm kind of like coming into all of these conclusions and understanding, and which is what relates to the cactus energy. Because I was really sitting, well, again, how can I fix my communication? How can I? Where do I begin with all of this? Don't. Sorry. You see how it's like you have multiple points all together, and how do you balance that into a state of being that is centered? It's really difficult to stay centered all the time with all of this stimuli coming in. So approaching people like equals, dealing with the conflict that can come from there, the spiritual lesson, and then it's like sometimes you feel lost in a state of arrogance and you don't want to be there, but then you want people to recognize you for who you are, and you don't want them to take advantage of you at the same time. And so that's what, like, how do you continue to be diplomatic and not in control, but again just centered and grounded, because that's what I realize is it's not so much that I do need to work. You can always get better at communicating. I don't want to say like, oh, I'm perfect at communicating, because I'm not, obviously. But I don't need to fixate so much on this perfectionist standard of communicating. I just need to come from a place of being direct and not channel clicking and not assuming people don't know things. Continuing to approach them like an equal, regardless of how they choose to handle that. And and then waiting for them to ask a question before I try to start over explaining myself. But as people can see, I'm actively, constantly connecting dots while I'm talking. It had been brought to my attention a few times that I'm just in a constant state of channeling, and so that can be really hard. And so maybe finding ways to ground while I'm speaking. I know there's like where you write it's not coming to me. I can picture how it's spelled. I can't it's not, the pronunciation of it is not going to come through at all. But maybe, I don't know. So it's like, okay, there's all of these different ways of how we can perfect this and how we can get better. Because I feel such cringe and embarrassment every time I record a video, every time I put it out there. I'm like, oh, I'm fidgeting with my hair, or I made a really stupid face, or oh my gosh, the lighting's not perfect, and fuck, I wish I had this and I wish I had that, and I can't do it until it's perfect. And it's constantly remembering not to worry about it being perfect, that there is an art to all of it and just doing it, and all the people that I will teach by being honest and vulnerable is going to be worth more than the highest quality content in the world. Because I guess ultimately it's showing everyone that they can find their path, that they can be special, and that they don't need to feed into this hierarchy. And part of that is leading by example and not being afraid to be stepped on. And that is the conclusion of the cactus for people who can follow that. Because so through all of this, I'm sitting with all of this, and again realizing I don't need to change that. As an Aquarius fixed sign, uniqueness of fixedness, with a Leo moon, which is even more fixedness, I don't need to change. If I'm a cactus, I have all the yummy, warm, gooey, mescaline insight on the inside. And people really want that. I'm willing to give it. There's ways to handle a cactus where you can get the mescaline and get the wisdom and get the insight without completely destroying the fucking cactus. All right? Like, was it cacti propagate, I believe? So like you can do it in such a which, oh my god, this all ties together. Sorry, that's super fun. So it all ties together. My big point is there is a proper way to fucking do things, and I usually get real when it's usually where I get mad and rage baited. And people tip me from my scales. Like, I really do try to come from a place of patience and teaching and understanding and empathy and this and that. And then I get pushed and pushed and pushed, and people like to see how far they can push me till I snap and say something, which is usually, it's usually like, I get, like, the final blow, like, I win, it's a kill shot, so to speak. But then through that kill shot, it gives the person what they wanted, which is ultimately the kill shot bouncing back and hitting me. But then the fun part about that is the alchemy of that return to sender and what I can transmute from that, which is the big thing that I've learned. But anyway, so the whole point is there's a proper way to do things. And if I'm a cactus, cacti don't go out of their way poking people. All right? I'm not going out of my way trying to hurt anyone. The cacti has the needles to protect itself because of what it has inside of it is so valuable. So, if you've ever been stabbed by me, it is because you stepped on me. And that was so healing in itself. Because it was like, if I'm a cactus, I'm trying to be something that I'm not. Instead of just loving myself as a cactus and understanding what that means. It's just like, and here's the thing, people aren't fucking stupid. You know how to handle things. You know when you're near a snake, you don't do certain things or you're gonna get bit. So if I am a cactus, if I am this, if I am that, you'll know what the fuck you're getting involved in, and I don't need to feel guilty about it because you stepped on me, and people shouldn't feel guilty about defending themselves, which is ultimately what it comes down to. But then, it's also not being defensive and defending yourself at the right time in the right place, which I think has also been a huge journey. And I also, I've given myself a lot of grace for all of the situations of all of the things I've done online that have been imperfect. One, for my age, my trauma, my experiences, and just also what it taught me. Because I know what I was saying at the core essence of it. But here's the thing, I want the mescaline to reach more people. So maybe the cactus, I don't know, I like to say it transforms into a rose. I feel like roses, yes, they still have thorns, which is what I've always said I was, which I can see similarity in the cactus and the rose. Cacti have flowers too. I was born in the desert. I was born in Arizona, so the cactus is significant. I love roses. I love flowers. I love that beauty essence. And so I think that could be like a masculine, feminine balance. And we're in Libra season, right? So it could be a balance of those things. I'm not entirely too sure of how we can all tie all of that together because there's so many different ways that I could view it. But ultimately, it's, yes, I want more people to receive the message. So how do I teach people the proper way? One is knowing that most people know what they're doing and I don't have to parent everybody. Two, it's putting myself out there more to let people get to know me a little bit better, not hiding myself and maybe not being as defensive. And not over-explaining myself because when I over-explain, it usually digs myself deeper because that's what the person wants. So not trapping myself, not being so easily rage baited, or understanding that there's a purpose in what it was that I said, which goes to the next part of the reflection. So I'm sitting in this space and we're talking to one of my friends and her mom, and we're kind of talking, they're trying to figure out the social media thing. I'm helping her. She designs clothes. Her name's Sydney and everything. We're just in this conversation. And this has been something, when I'm on the theme of things, that's all I think about. Not to be too selfish to people, but you have to understand every moment of my life is a nugget of my spiritual path and constantly interpreting how everybody is a reflection of everything, which is to say that maybe there are lessons of being a little bit more present and detaching sometimes, and could be where I burn myself out, but I'm highly dedicated to my path and where I'm going. And so when I'm talking with Sydney and her mom, and we're having this conversation, it's brought up, I mentioned, I've upset the internet, and they asked, an example. And, well, they are a Black family, and Sydney's mom is from Louisiana, is what she told me. And I didn't tell, I was telling them the story, and I was I told them, well, what I was trying to say is that I feel like people who follow Hollywood spirituality and Hollywood occult practices are doing more damage to not only the spiritual community, but to the Black community because of all of these stereotypes, which just gives people a stigma against voodoo, hoodoo, and all these other practices, which then carries over into everyone. And I was like, and I just feel like it's a complex issue, and I'm kind of just going into like the philosophy of what it means, not just for like specific groups of people, but for humanity in itself. And I was like, and I told them, I was like, I said some offensive things. I didn't say it perfectly. And I was like, I tried to start off nice, and I believe it did start off like kind of nice, but it also kind of already started off defensive because I get brought into it mid-argument. So it's already kind of tense. But I'm trying to be detached and informative, and again, the mediator, and when you get put into a mediator position, you get bruised, and then it spun out of control really fast. And I'm not trying to deflect any accountability and everything. I just am saying, like, the internet conversations, discussions, debates, they go fucking haywire. So, oh god, like I said, spun out of control super fast. All of it happened so fast. Like, I can't believe how it all played out. And I'm explaining all of this, and I was like, like, I feel like they were offended for a reason, and they needed to be, but I also don't think that I should have said it in the way that I said it. And her mom looked at me, and as I was explaining myself to them, she told me that I was brave. She told me that I was brave for saying what I said. She said, I grew up in Louisiana. I know all about all the like voodoo and all the things. And she goes, I think it's really stupid that there are people who follow Hollywood. And she goes, we see it in New Orleans all the time, like tourist occultism, and it's inauthentic. It's not genuine, and it creates a really negative stigma about people who are authentically and genuinely engaging in a spiritual path for that it is, which I think adds to more division or exploitation, and like that again furthering what it was that I was kind of trying to communicate. But when she told me I was brave, I was like, really? I was like, even though she goes, no, like, she goes, you're a kid. She's like, you're still a kid. I'm 29. She's like, you're still a kid. But especially like 4 years ago or 3 years ago, she's like, still a kid. She goes, I don't think that it's nothing you can come back from. And then Cindy was like, they can recover. Like the other people, the people I offended, she goes, they can recover. She goes, it wasn't anything. I was like, well, it blew up and this is where it went. She goes, that shows the illiteracy rate of the country and people on the internet not understanding, which is what a few people had said. It's like, see through the smokes and mirrors, like hear what she's saying. No, like even like some of my closest friends were like, Sarah, I really don't think you should have said it that way. Like people were not no one was delusionally supporting me. I wasn't even delusionally supporting myself. I was really honest, because I don't think people like even really understood when because then I tried explaining where I was like, hey, like I was just like, I was in the moment and I was talking, I was having a really heated discussion, and I honestly I wasn't aware of a couple of the things that I said because I was just like, how I talk really, really fast. I was just on it and I was saying what it was that I needed to say. And which, as the Aquarius with the Capricorn Mercury, you're meant to disrupt, to promote change, and then break down dogma with my Sagittarius Pluto, and which that's all loosely expressed are connected. But it was just like all of these things. I'm trying to learn all these lessons within myself and my birth chart, my destiny, and my journey, while also not upsetting the masses who came after me. And then with the whole Pisces thing, you can see so much of the biblical references because Jesus represents Pisces and the age of Pisces and all of these other themes. So you can see the disruption, and you can see the crucifixion, and then you can see the rebirth, and it's metaphors. It's metaphorical. I want people to understand that I speak metaphorically. And I understand a lot of people may not understand all of the things that I say or might be crazy. But one thing that upset me, I think to this day still upsets me, is so I say all of that and I write my 15-page dissertation and I'm really explaining things, and people are saying all the things that they're saying about me. for a variety, they're calling me all kinds of stuff that I don't know if I can say on YouTube. I don't know. I don't know what'll get flagged. But they're calling me all this stuff, and then just for all the Palestine and all this other stuff to happen, Gaza, all of it, all this other stuff starts happening. Not too much longer, like not too much later. And people are saying the exact same thing that I'm saying in a different context, in a different way. When my whole point as a philosopher, it's the core essence, it's the principle. You should apply this principle everywhere, not just when it suits you. So then I'm getting even more mad. But then I shut my voice down on social media and I didn't say anything. I didn't speak out against things. I told my friends I would send videos because I know. Don't think that I don't know. I kept track of everybody who said everything that they had to say about me. And then I would see the same person who dragged me through the mud regurgitate my same talking point, but they wrapped it up in a pretty little bow. And then they're getting all this praise and credit for the wisdom and the lesson that I gave them. And it's because I didn't package it pretty. I didn't, I don't know. There's a phrase that I can't fucking think of. I didn't sugarcoat it. I said it, the thorns, you hit a thorn, and I said it in a really stabby kind of way. It was meant to draw some blood. It was meant to, like, get you in the soul, in the heart. It was meant to disrupt, make you think about what the fuck it is that you're doing. What I'm doing, what the world is doing. So, famous quote by Corey Taylor, if I offended you, you needed it. I genuinely would really like to embody that more, but also this reflection is just like, I am sensitive, and that's why I think a rose is more accurate, because it doesn't take much and my petals fall down. The thorns are still there, but the petals are gone. So then maybe a cactus is what I need to be, because it's a little bit more sturdy, and it regenerates, because you step on a part of a cactus, the whole thing isn't down. The propagation method, like it can keep going. But then maybe I'm not just a rose, I'm a rose bush, because then there's other, I don't know. It's learning how to not allow myself to be snuffed or killed so easily, I suppose, while still remaining soft and vulnerable. Just really trying to figure that out and balance it out. And so I think in all of these reflections, it's just keep accepting the wisdom, keep sharing the wisdom as it comes to me, and keep doing it imperfectly, and keep taking the humbling, humiliating, embarrassing accountability that I need, regardless of what it is that I may say. Keep trying to work on it. Keep refining it through my writing. Because the voice, the public speaking, to me feels really informal, where my writing feels more formal. So if you're wanting the intellectual, academic side of me, that would be my writing. Where when I speak, I want it to be casual. I want it to be friendly. I want it to be informal. I don't want it to be formal. I don't want to have to walk on eggshells with talking. I understand not to say that you should be intentional with what you say, because you should. But I don't know. I feel like there's more intention into creating an art piece, which I guess speaking is an art form in itself. And I'm learning this art form. I've mastered writing as an art form, and now I'm trying to master speaking as an art form. But I do enjoy a more casual, laid-back approach to conversation. I don't like censorship of any kind. I try my very best to allow people freedom to say anything. There are no banned words, there's no banned books, there's no banned anything in my space. Say what you have to say it directly, and we will unpack it from there. And that is something that I am learning to equally do online. Be direct, not walk on eggshells, and then the criticism or the feedback comes, we can unpack it from there, and I can go further. And I think that might be a really good place to start as I try to maybe untangle this or organize this, or just share all of the layers of things that I have in my brain. It's mind, body, spirit, heart, everything. There's so many things that I know. I don't even know how to organize it or how to express myself or promote myself. So that's another thing. Where do we go? So I don't know. I don't know exactly where we go from here, but I'm just gonna keep on keeping on and just keep seeing where it leads me, and I appreciate everyone who is along for the ride. I think that kind of wraps up this reflection on everything that I said. There's a lot of not just healing, but a lot of self-love that came from the self-loathing at the start of it. I am brave for speaking my mind. I am brave for being honest about my feelings. I'm brave for not being afraid to be vulnerable, and I'm brave for being burned at the stake and coming out alive, which would be, more phoenix symbolism that comes in from, I would say, my 8th house energy. I'm not too sure how to explain these phenomena or these metaphors any other way. Astrology is my favorite language. So with that, I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I will be back. Thank you, here, ready? Thank you for drinking some moon juice.